"I need a queen and you need immortality," said the alpha vampire to the exiled princess. The night sky above Velmora was heavy and silent, like it was holding secrets it was not ready to release. The moon was pale and cold, hanging low like a tired eye watching the world suffer below. Winds moved slowly through the broken towers of the old kingdom. Once, Velmora was a land of golden banners and singing festivals. Now it was only ruins, shadows, and memories that no one wanted to remember. Princess Elira walked alone through the empty royal gardens. Her long silver-blue dress was torn at the edges from days of traveling through wild forests and cursed lands. She did not walk like a princess anymore. She walked like someone who had learned how to survive without a throne. Her kingdom had exiled her. They called her dangerous. They said she carried dark magic. They said she would bring destruction to the royal bloodline. Elira did not fully understand the magic inside her. She only knew that sometimes, when she felt strong emotions, shadows would move closer to her like living creatures. Sometimes moonlight would bend toward her fingers as if it wanted to comfort her. Tonight, the magic inside her felt restless. She stopped walking when she reached the throne hall ruins. The building was almost completely destroyed. The tall marble pillars were cracked like old bones. The royal throne stood at the far end of the hall, still intact, as if it refused to fall even after the kingdom fell around it. Elira remembered sitting on that throne as a child. She remembered her mother's soft voice telling her that queens must be strong but also kind. She remembered her father's strict voice telling her that power was more important than kindness. Now both of her parents had turned their backs on her. The wind moved through the broken windows, making soft singing sounds. Then she felt it, a presence, cold, ancient, powerful. She turned slowly. At the center of the throne hall stood a man who was not there before. He was tall and dressed in dark royal clothing with silver patterns that looked like ancient star symbols. His skin was pale like winter snow, and his eyes were deep crimson, glowing softly in the dark. He looked like someone who had lived through thousands of nights. The alpha vampire had come. He did not move at first. He only watched her like a predator studying both beauty and danger. "You came alone," he said. His voice was smooth but deep, like distant thunder before a storm. Elira did not show fear. She had already learned that fear was something tyrants fed on. "I did not invite you," she said calmly. He smiled slightly. "You did not have to." Silence filled the hall between them. The vampire walked slowly toward her, his footsteps almost soundless. "You are dying," he said after a moment. Elira did not deny it. She knew the curse was spreading. She could feel it sometimes like cold roots growing slowly inside her chest. "What do you want from me?" she asked. He stopped walking when he was only a few steps away from her. "I need a queen," he said, "and you need immortality." The words felt heavier than any sword. Elira looked into his eyes. She did not see cruelty there. Instead, she saw loneliness wrapped in power. "You are offering me eternal life," she said slowly. "Yes, but immortality without freedom is just another kind of prison." The vampire nodded. "You are smarter than your family gave you credit for." The princess felt anger rise inside her chest, but she controlled it. The shadows around her feet moved slightly, like they were listening to her emotions. "Why me?" she asked. The vampire turned his gaze toward the broken throne. "Because your bloodline is old," he said. "Older than the current royal dynasty. Your ancestors once ruled magic, not just land. But your kingdom feared that power, so they buried it. And now, it is waking up inside you." Elira touched the mark on her collarbone. It was shaped like a moon crack with dark veins spreading from it. "It is killing me," she said quietly. "Not killing you," the vampire corrected. "Changing you." She did not like how calm he sounded. "You speak about me like I am a weapon." "You are not a weapon," he said. "You are something worse or better. That depends on which path you choose." Elira turned away from him and walked toward the broken throne. She placed her hand on the cold stone. "I was a princess once," she said. "My parents taught me to obey. They said queens must sacrifice themselves for kingdoms." She laughed softly, but there was pain in it. "They sacrificed me instead." The vampire watched her carefully. He had lived long enough to recognize broken royalty. He had seen kingdoms destroy their own heirs in the name of stability. "I do not want to rule you," he said. She looked at him sharply. "Every ruler says that." He stepped closer again. "I want an equal queen," he said. "Not a servant, not a prisoner. A partner who will stand beside me when kingdoms rise and fall." Elira felt something strange in her chest. Not love yet, not trust yet, but curiosity, and something softer she did not want to name. "What if I refuse?" she asked. The vampire did not look angry. "Then you will die within a year," he said honestly, "and the curse inside you will awaken alone, without guidance, and then your kingdom will not just fear you, they will hunt you." Elira knew he was telling the truth, but she hated that truth. The night grew colder. The moon outside turned darker, like clouds were slowly swallowing its light. She thought about her family, about how her father's last words to her were that she had become a danger to the royal bloodline. She thought about living alone, hunted and sick until death took her quietly. Then she looked at the vampire again. "You speak about destiny like it is already decided," she said. He shook his head slowly. "Destiny is only a path," he said. "You still choose how to walk it." He removed something from his coat. It was an ancient crown made of black obsidian and silver moon metal. The crown was beautiful but also terrifying. It seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. He held it toward her, but did not force her to take it. "If you accept me," he said, "you will become my queen, you will gain immortality slowly. Your curse will be stabilized, you will learn to control your magic." "And if I accept?" she asked. "You will lose your old life," he said. "But you may gain a new one where you are not hunted." Silence fell again. Elira felt her heart beating strongly. The curse inside her stirred like something waking from a long sleep. She reached out slowly and touched the crown. It was cold, not painful, just cold. The vampire did not move. He was waiting. That was when Elira realized something strange. He was not forcing her. He was not threatening her. He was simply watching like he was afraid of something too. "Do you fear me?" she asked suddenly. He smiled faintly. "Yes," he said. "But not in the way you think." Before she could ask what he meant, the shadows around her feet began moving faster. The curse inside her reacted to the crown's magic. Whispering voices filled her mind in an ancient language she did not understand. And then the voice spoke her name, not Elira, but another name. A name she had never heard before, yet felt like something she had forgotten rather than something new. She turned toward the vampire quickly. "Did you hear that?" she asked, but his expression had changed. He looked shocked, afraid. "Who is that name?" she asked. The wind outside suddenly became violent. The broken windows of the throne hall began shaking. The vampire stepped closer to her. "You should not have heard that voice yet," he said quietly. "What voice?" she asked. But before he could answer, the curse inside her reacted violently. Pain spread through her chest like burning ice. Elira fell to her knees, breathing heavily. Shadows rose around her like living creatures protecting her from something unseen. The vampire knelt beside her. And very softly, almost like a confession, he said, "Because you and I may have met before, in another life, before kingdoms, before curses." Elira looked up at him through pain and confusion. "What does that mean?" But before he could answer, her vision filled with images she did not understand. A throne made of bones, a crown of stars, a man kneeling before a queen whose face she could not see, and then everything went dark. The last thing she heard was the vampire whispering, "Do not awaken too quickly, my queen. Some powers want to be free, but freedom can also be a form of destruction." Elira woke with the taste of iron on her tongue and the echo of whispers still dancing in her mind. The ruins of the throne hall were empty now, but the air felt heavy, almost alive. The moonlight filtered through broken windows and touched her pale skin with a ghostly glow. She sat slowly, feeling the crown still warm in her hands. She remembered the alpha vampire's voice, deep and calm, warning her that some powers wanted freedom but could bring destruction. Her chest ached, not just from the curse, but from something she could not name, a strange tension that seemed to pull her toward him, even after his warnings. The vampire had left her alone that night, disappearing like mist into the shadows. But he had left a mark, both literal and invisible. He had said she had a choice, but her heart already felt tangled in the threads of a fate she did not fully understand. Elira could no longer stay in the ruins. She knew her enemies, her own family, would not stop hunting her. If she wanted to survive, she needed strength, and if she wanted to live without fear, she needed guidance. The winds seemed to answer her silent plea. Shadows bent and twisted as if forming a path. She followed instinct rather than reason, stepping out of the ruins and into the night. The forest beyond the kingdom was alive with whispers. Trees leaned toward her as if they had been waiting for her arrival. Moonlight dripped through branches, turning the leaves into silver flames. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled, a lonely song that mirrored her own heart. She felt the crown growing heavier in her hands, not with weight but with purpose. She did not know why, but it seemed to hum with life. The magic inside her stirred, awakening something she had long feared. And then she saw him, the alpha vampire. He emerged from the shadows silently, his crimson eyes reflecting the moonlight like twin rubies. Unlike the night before, there was no fear in him, only observation, only patience, only power. "You have awakened faster than I expected," he said, his voice calm but carrying a strange undercurrent of something unspoken. Elira did not answer immediately. She studied him. He was more than a man, or what she had always thought a man could be. Every movement, every breath seemed deliberate, measured, as if he were aware of every shadow, every secret of the world. "You followed the shadows," he said, noting her path. "They guide you, but they also test you. Not everyone who follows them survives." "I do not want to die," she said simply, holding the crown tighter. "You will not if you learn control," he said. "But control requires more than strength. It requires understanding your own fear and desire." Elira frowned. She did not like the way he spoke, like he could see every hidden corner of her heart. And yet there was something comforting in that honesty. She did not need flattery. She needed truth. He motioned for her to follow him, and they moved together through the forest. She noticed for the first time how his presence altered the world around him. Moonlight seemed to bend closer to him. Shadows parted at his steps, and even the wind seemed to carry a strange warmth in his wake. They came to a hidden valley, enclosed by jagged cliffs and ancient trees whose roots twisted into the earth like fingers holding secrets. In the center was a lake, black and still, reflecting the moon as though it were a silver mirror. "This will be your training ground," he said. "Here, you will learn to control the curse and your magic. Here, you will discover the true power within you." Elira stepped forward cautiously. She could feel the lake calling her. The water rippled even though there was no wind, reacting to her presence. Her reflection shimmered, but it was not entirely her own. She saw flashes of a different self, stronger, older, untouchable, yet also terrifying. "Why do you help me?" she asked, turning to him. "Because you are not just a princess," he said quietly. "You are something far older than that. And because I have never met anyone who could match me." Elira's heart skipped, though she tried to hide it. She did not understand why his words affected her so deeply. She wanted to resist him. She wanted to see him as nothing more than a dangerous being. And yet there was something magnetic, impossible to deny. The training began at first with simple lessons. He taught her to summon her shadows, to weave moonlight into shapes and weapons. She was clumsy at first, frustrated with her own failures, but he never mocked her. Instead, he corrected her, guiding her hands, his touch brief but deliberate, and the tension between them grew with every lesson. "You fear your own power," he said one night as they practiced near the lake. "That fear is stronger than anything else. If you embrace it, you can bend it to your will." Alira shook her head. "It scares me. It wants to take over, not serve me." "That is why you must understand it," he said, stepping closer. "Not fight it, not deny it, but feel it and then choose." They trained for days, sometimes weeks. She learned quickly, far faster than she thought possible. Her magic responded not just to her command, but to her emotions. When anger flared, shadows became jagged and sharp. When sorrow touched her heart, moonlight softened into gentle, protective shapes. Through it all, the vampire watched her. He never interfered unnecessarily, but when he did touch her hand to adjust her stance or guide her fingers, a warmth passed between them. It was fleeting and subtle, but enough to make her heart race. One night, as the moon hung full and silver, he brought her rare white roses that grew only in cursed soil. Their petals glowed faintly, as if lit by some hidden moonlight. "Why do you bring me these?" she asked, curious despite herself. "Because beauty can survive even in darkness," he said, "and so can you." Alira felt a strange emotion rise in her chest: pride, hope, or perhaps something more dangerous, longing. She turned away, pretending to examine the roses, but she could feel him watching her, his presence both comforting and terrifying. Yet the peace was not to last. One night while she meditated near the lake, she felt it again. The whispering voice inside her, the one from the throne hall. It called to her, ancient and urgent, speaking a language she barely understood. It repeated his name. When she told him, his eyes darkened, his calm expression faltering for the first time. "You should not hear that yet," he said, his voice low and uneasy. "Some memories are dangerous and some powers must remain hidden." "What memories?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Is it about me?" "About you?" He said nothing, only watching her with an intensity that made her shiver. Over the next days, she found herself haunted not just by her own powers, but by dreams. Dreams of distant kingdoms, of battles fought with magic older than time, of a queen who ruled with both justice and fear. And always, the vampire was there, sometimes kneeling before her, sometimes standing beside her, always connected to her in ways she could not comprehend. Through the trials, the arguments began. They argued about the use of power, about trust, and about morality. Every conversation carried a tension that was more than disagreement. It was the clash of two forces, two wills, two hearts unwilling to bend completely. Yet each argument left them closer than before, bound by the unspoken understanding that they were shaping each other's destiny. "You are not here to serve me," he reminded her one night as she trained under the full moon. "You are here to rise beside me. Never forget that." "I am not a girl to be protected," she shot back, "and I am not afraid to walk alone." "Yet you follow me," he said, a hint of amusement in his crimson eyes. "I follow the path I choose," she said, her voice steady, though her heart betrayed her. And that was when she understood something crucial. Power was not given, it was taken, and respect was not demanded, it was earned. Yet danger was never far. Rumors from her former kingdom spoke of hunters preparing to seek her out, believing her cursed powers could destroy everything. She felt a mix of fear and determination. She would not allow herself to be hunted again. The vampire remained silent on these rumors, his expression unreadable. But Alira knew he was aware. He always was. On the seventh night, under a blood-tinted moon, the curse within her stirred violently. Shadows twisted around her, forming shapes that almost seemed alive, whispering secrets she could barely comprehend. The alpha vampire reached out instinctively, grasping her hands and anchoring her, his touch sending a strange warmth through her entire body. "You are stronger than I feared," he said softly, almost in awe, "and yet the curse is awakening faster than I imagined." Alira looked into his eyes, seeking guidance, seeking safety, seeking something she could not name. "You are not just a queen in waiting," he he said. "You are a force that could change worlds, and his voice faltered the first time she heard hesitation. I may not survive your power if it is not controlled." Her heart pounded. For the first time, she realized that he was not merely her teacher, her protector, or even her ally. He was something vulnerable, and the thought that she could hurt him or that he could be afraid of her sent a strange shiver through her. That night, as they stood together under the blood moon, she understood something terrifying and exhilarating. She did not just need his guidance to survive. She needed him as she had never needed anyone before. And he needed her in ways neither of them could yet admit. The moon dipped low behind the jagged cliffs. Shadows stretched like fingers, and the lake reflected their forms as if showing them a future they had not yet lived but were destined to share. A storm was coming, Alira sensed it, not just of wind and rain, but of destiny. Of powers awakening, of choices that would test love, trust, and loyalty. The vampire's hand brushed hers briefly. He did not pull away, and for a fleeting moment the world felt as though it had stopped. Two hearts, two wills, two fates poised on the edge of eternity. But then the storm arrived. Lightning cracked across the sky. The shadows around her twisted violently, responding to the curse within her, forming shapes she did not recognize. She screamed not in fear but in power. The vampire grabbed her firmly. "Focus," he commanded. "Do not let it control you." Alira closed her eyes. She felt the pulse of the moon, the pull of shadows, the weight of the crown in her hands. And slowly, painfully, she bent the chaos around her, not with force but with choice. When she opened her eyes, the shadows had stilled. The storm above quieted as though the night itself were holding its breath. The vampire stepped back slightly, looking at her with a mixture of awe, pride, and something deeper she could not name. "You have done what few could," he said, "but this is only the beginning. The curse is not tamed, it is merely patient." Alira nodded, exhausted, trembling, and yet more alive than she had ever felt. The night was silent again, but for the first time she felt that she was no longer just a lost princess or a hunted girl. She was something more. Something dangerous, something alive. And the alpha vampire, he was no longer simply her guide. He was her equal. Their journey was only beginning, and the shadows whispered that the world would soon tremble at their power. The wind carried the smell of rain and danger. Alira stood on the high cliff above the hidden valley, watching dark clouds gather far in the distance. The sky looked heavy, like it was holding secrets it did not want to release. The moon was hiding behind thick clouds, and the world below felt quiet, almost like it was holding its breath. But Alira was not calm. Inside her chest, the curse was moving like something alive. It was stronger now, more awake. She could feel emotions of the world around her like soft echoes, fear from distant villages, tension from hidden armies, even the nervous heartbeat of birds flying far above the trees. She was becoming something more than human, and that thought both excited and terrified her. Behind her she heard footsteps. She did not turn immediately, she already knew who it was. The alpha vampire stood beside her. He did not speak at first. He simply watched the dark horizon with her. "They are coming," he said quietly. Alira nodded. "My family sent them." The vampire did not show surprise. He had expected this. Royal families did not allow lost princesses to become powerful enemies. "They think I am still weak," she said. "They do not know what you are becoming," he replied. Silence fell between them, heavy and emotional. Over the past weeks, their relationship had changed. It was no longer just teacher and student. It was something deeper, something harder to name. Trust was growing between them, but so was fear. Alira was afraid of loving an immortal being, and the vampire was afraid of losing her to time, war, or destiny. "You must choose soon," he said suddenly. Alira looked at him. "Choose what?" "Your side in this war," she frowned. "I thought I already chose. I am here with you." He shook his head slowly. "Not as my follower. Not as my queen in training. As a ruler, When war begins, you must decide whether you will fight as a weapon or as a leader. Illyra felt tension in her chest. She did not want to become a weapon. But she also did not want to become a ruler who only sat on a throne while others died for her. "I will fight," she said, "but I will not become like the royals who exiled me." The vampire looked at her with quiet pride. "You are learning what true power is," he said softly. The war began sooner than expected. Messengers from her former kingdom arrived first. They were not soldiers. They were priests of light magic, wearing white armor that shone under weak sunlight. They stood at the edge of the valley, shouting for Illyra to surrender. "Princess Illyra," one of them called, "you are still part of the royal bloodline. Return with us and your life will be spared." Illyra stood beside the vampire and watched them. She felt anger, but also sadness. "They fear me," she said quietly. "They fear what they do not control," the vampire replied. She stepped forward alone. The priests watched her carefully. They could feel the dark magic around her like pressure in the air. "You are cursed," one of them said. "You carry forbidden magic." "I carry power," Illyra replied calmly. "Your kingdom fears power that cannot be controlled." They tried to convince her to return. They spoke about honor, tradition, and royal duty, but Illyra had already decided. "I will not return as a prisoner," she said. The priests attacked. Light magic exploded toward her like burning stars. Illyra raised her hands. For the first time, she did not feel fear. She felt control. The shadows around her responded instantly. Moonlight gathered into large spectral wings behind her back. She rose slightly into the air, her dress flowing like dark water. The light magic struck her shields of shadow and shattered like glass. The priests looked shocked. She was stronger than they expected. The battle began. Illyra fought with elegance rather than rage. She moved like a queen leading an army, not like a monster fighting for survival. Shadows formed into sharp weapons that protected her and pushed enemies back without killing them. She did not want bloodshed, but war was not kind. More soldiers came. From the sky, flying knights attacked using enchanted weapons. The vampire joined the battle then. He moved like darkness itself, fast and silent. His power was overwhelming. Enemies fell before they could even see him approach. But he did not fight recklessly. He protected Illyra's soldiers. He protected her. Their fighting styles moved together like music. She attacked from the air using moonlight weapons. He moved through shadows on the ground. Together, they were almost unstoppable. But war always brings losses. One enemy commander wearing golden armor shouted her name. "Traitor princess," he screamed. "You will destroy your own kingdom with this darkness." Illyra felt pain in her chest at those words. Was she truly becoming what they feared? The curse inside her reacted to her emotions. Her magic became stronger, darker, more violent. The vampire noticed immediately. "Illyra," he called, "do not let anger control you." But she was already losing control. Dark energy spread around her like storm clouds. The ground cracked, trees bent under invisible pressure. She saw visions again, the throne of bones, the queen without a face, the kneeling man, and then she understood something terrifying. This power wanted her to rule through fear, not compassion. She screamed not in pain but in resistance. "I will not become destruction," she shouted to the sky. She focused her thoughts on protection, not revenge. Slowly, painfully, the darkness stabilized. The battle ended shortly after. Her enemies retreated, shocked and afraid. Illyra landed on the ground, exhausted. The vampire approached her slowly. "You chose mercy," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "Is that weakness?" "No," he said. "That is true royalty." That night, victory felt heavy rather than joyful. The valley was quiet, soldiers rested. Fires burned softly. Illyra and the vampire sat near the lake again, but something had changed between them. He was quieter, more distant. "What is wrong?" she asked. He hesitated. "I have lived through many wars," he said. "I have seen queens rise, I have seen queens fall. Love makes immortals vulnerable." Alira felt her heart tighten. "What are you afraid of?" she asked. He looked at her. "I am afraid that one day you will choose mortality," he said, "and I will watch centuries pass while you become dust in history." Alira felt tears in her eyes. "I am afraid of becoming immortal and losing my memories," she said. "I am afraid of forgetting who I was before I met you." They sat in silence. Then she reached for his hand. It was the first time she initiated physical closeness. "I do not know what future awaits us," she said softly, "but I know I do not want to face it alone." The vampire did something unexpected. He did not speak. He simply held her hand tightly. For the first time in centuries, he allowed himself to feel hope. But far away, in the dark royal palace of her former kingdom, something worse was happening. The royal council was not only planning to capture her. They were planning something far more dangerous. They were preparing a ritual to destroy her magic completely, even if it meant destroying her life with it. And in the darkness of the palace, someone whispered her name, not as a princess, but as a prophecy. The night before the final battle was very quiet, too quiet. Alira stood in the highest tower of the hidden valley fortress, watching the dark horizon. The wind moved gently through her silver hair. Her eyes reflected the faint light of the moon, which was now full and glowing like a silver shield in the sky. She felt stronger than before. But strength did not always bring peace. Inside her chest, the curse had changed. It was no longer painful. It was like a sleeping beast waiting patiently. Beside her stood the alpha vampire. He had not spoken much in the past hours. He knew what was coming. Kings and queens of the past did not give up their power easily, and her former kingdom was preparing something dangerous. "They are preparing the ritual," he said quietly. Alira did not turn to look at him immediately. "I know," she said softly. The vampire watched her face. He had lived for thousands of years, but he had never felt emotions like this before. Fear of losing someone, hope mixed with sadness, love that felt heavier than immortality. "You can still leave," he said. Alira finally turned toward him. "And go where?" she asked. "Run forever." He did not answer. She stepped closer to him. "I am not running anymore," she said. "I ran once. That is how I lost my kingdom. I will not repeat my past." He looked at her with quiet pride and deep fear at the same time. "You are not just a princess now," he said. "You are becoming something older than kingdoms." Alira smiled softly. "Good," she said, "because kingdoms are built by fear. I want to build something better." The next morning, war came with the rising sun. The royal army of her former kingdom arrived at the valley borders. But they were not alone. Priests of light magic stood behind them, carrying ancient sacred relics. At the center of the army stood her father's royal advisor. "You were given a chance to return," he shouted. "Now you will be destroyed for betraying the crown." Alira stepped forward alone. She wore dark royal armor made of moonlight and shadow magic. The crown of obsidian and silver rested on her head. She did not look like a lost princess anymore. She looked like a queen of forgotten legends. "I did not betray the crown," she said loudly. "The crown betrayed me when it chose fear over love." The soldiers became silent. The ritual began. The priests placed ancient relics on the battlefield ground. Symbols of light magic began glowing. The air became heavy, like reality itself was being pulled apart. The vampire sensed danger immediately. "Alira," he said sharply, "they are not trying to defeat you. They are trying to erase you." She knew he was right. The ritual was designed to destroy magic at its source. If successful, it would kill her power and possibly her life. But Alira did not feel fear. She felt something else. Purpose. She rose slightly into the air, moonlight forming wings behind her once more. Her magic spread across the battlefield like silver mist. The battle began violently. Light magic and shadow magic collided in the sky like crashing stars. The vampire fought beside her, protecting her from enemy attacks. He moved like a storm of darkness, fast and powerful, but careful not to leave her side. But the ritual was stronger than expected. The priest started chanting ancient words. Alira felt pain spreading through her chest again. The curse was reacting to the ritual magic, but instead of fighting it, she tried something different. She stopped resisting. She listened to the curse. Memories began flooding her mind, not just her own memories, memories of another life. She saw herself as an ancient queen from thousands of years ago. She ruled lands where magic and humans lived together in peace. Beside her stood a man who looked like the vampire, but he was not a ruler then. He was a warrior who swore to protect her forever. She understood the truth then. The curse was not punishment. It was a forgotten legacy. She was not becoming a monster. She was awakening a lost queen of balance between life and death. Alira opened her eyes. Her magic changed. The shadows around her became softer, warmer. Moonlight and darkness mixed together into something new. She raised her hands toward the sky. "I do not choose destruction," she said loudly. "I choose balance." Her magic exploded outward not as attack but as protection. The ritual magic shattered like glass. The priests fell backward in shock. The royal army began retreating in fear. The battlefield became silent. The advisor of the royal family stepped forward, looking shocked. "You are not supposed to be this strong," he said. "The prophecy said you would bring destruction." Alira looked at him calmly. "Prophecies are written by people who fear change," she said. The man lowered his weapon slowly. Then he ordered the army to retreat. The war was over, not with massacre, but with survival. That night, celebrations were quiet and emotional. Alira sat near the lake with the vampire. He looked at her carefully. "You are different now," he said. "Yes," she said. "I understand my curse now." She touched her chest. "It was never meant to destroy me. It was meant to remind me who I was before fear changed history." The vampire looked at her with deep emotion. "You are stronger than I ever imagined," he said quietly. Alira smiled softly. "And you are softer than you pretend to be," she replied. He did not deny it. Instead, he took her hand. "I cannot promise you eternity without pain," he said. "Time will pass. Kingdoms will rise and fall." "I know," she said, "but I can promise to choose you every century," he said softly. Alira felt tears in her eyes. "And I will choose you every lifetime," she replied. They stood together under the full moon, not as ruler and subject, not as predator and prey, but as two immortal souls choosing love despite destiny. Years passed. Alira became known as the Moon Queen. She built a new kingdom where humans, magic users, and supernatural beings lived in balance. Fear was replaced with respect. Power was used to protect, not dominate. The vampire ruled beside her, not as master but as equal king. Their love became part of legend, but even legends carry mystery. One night, centuries later, a child with moon-marked skin was born in the kingdom. The child whispered the vampire's forgotten ancient name in its sleep. And far away, in another hidden world beyond mortal memory, something ancient woke up. Something older than kingdoms. Something that smiled because love had once again broken the cycle of destruction.